So let's tackle haptics first. This has to do with touch. The largest organ in the body is your skin, and it is set up to go through and determine all kinds of data from what we touch and how we touch that. And we have certain parts in our bodies that are set up for different types of data that we might be pulling in, what some people have called erogenous zones. We won't necessarily get into a whole bunch of that. We will talk about the hand, though, and how it's engineered to go through and determine heat and temperature, rather, and texture. Really, the palm of our hands are really set up to go through and do that. On the other side, though, there's an entirely different set of neurotransmitters that aren't dedicated necessarily to those kind of survival ideas. Instead, they are more relational. And it's interesting how those can become tells in terms of how somebody might be trying to deceive. Excuse me. If you've ever observed a child who might fall somewhere on the autism spectrum, you might have noticed some self-soothing behaviors, and that behavior happens when they rub just above the knuckle of the thumb, right behind the cuticle, and they'll rub that way. And typically the hands are at their sides when they're going through and doing that. Try that, do it right now, and you'll find that it is self-soothing. What that's doing is it's starting to go through and change the the serotonin and dopamine levels in your brain to help you feel a little bit better. Well, that also becomes an indicator if somebody becomes escalated emotionally because they're lying to you and they're afraid they might be caught within that lie. And we see this self-touch going on. That might, there in and of itself, might be a tell that we might need to take a little closer look at it to what it is that they're saying. Self-touching can manifest other places too, like behind the ear or back on the neck too. We're not unlike other mammals where when we get cornered, we feel threatened, we kind of feel the hair on the back of our neck stand up. Not kind of, but we do. That in and of itself is a physiological response. And we respond to that by placing our hand back there and rubbing that area or just covering it to go through and maybe, again, self-soothe or calm ourselves down. Well, there's an indication that we're becoming escalated as a result of maybe the deposition or the interrogation. In order to calm ourselves down, we're reaching in the back and we're doing this. Or underneath the ear, back around here, around this side of the neck, same kind of thing. Another area on the face in particular is what's called the third eye, and it's right here. It's right on the forehead. And there's some Eastern theological ideas behind this, that the third eye is the eye of the soul, and certainly the soul is connected to our moral compass. And if we feel that maybe we might be on the breach of maybe violating our moral code by telling a lie, we will cover the third eye so it doesn't see us do that. Now, this is all theory, and it's all, pardon me, boy, it's all kind of subconscious that we do that. But it's that kind of symbolism that's been applied to that, of covering the third eye so it doesn't see us or doesn't hear us, if you will, go through and lie as a result of that. And these are relatively reliable tells. And again, they have to be kept taken in the same context as everything else is, and we have to understand the baseline. Maybe your subject rubs their forehead all the time, or maybe they rub their neck all the time. This kind of behavior, as far as that, the behind the thumb kind of thing, not so much, okay? This is a definite tell. People don't do this just on a whim in terms of that kind of haptic connection that's happening there. There are all kinds of books and videos and YouTube clips about haptics and what they mean. If somebody touches their hair, puts it back behind their ear, that means that they're interested in you. Or if somebody happens to go through and touch their knee or touch, and it's all subjective because there's really no consideration taken for what kind of baseline is that individual working with to begin with. This takes a long time. This takes observation, and it takes kind of a detailed overview of the individual's behavior before we can start putting these cues together and coming up with anything that might have validity to it in terms of whether or not they're lying to you. All right? So watch for the next clip. We'll tackle kinesics, and that'll come up right there. All right?